Can y'all hear me? Diane, Mike, Tammy, anybody? Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay. How is everyone?
Doing great. How about you?
Good. So I'm at the state conference down in Concord. So thanks for that. So the biggest thing out of this week, I'll go ahead and share with everybody that's here. Huge news. And this is one of the things that RPAC money does for you as a realtor. NAR won its lawsuit against the Department of Justice. And that lawsuit has been going on for a couple of years now. And it was about saying that the MLS is a free and fair enterprise for both the buyer and a seller, regardless of compensation to the agents. So the other big thing about that is advertising that on the buying side, hey, I'm free, we don't charge. So that's not technically true. We don't charge the buyer directly. We do charge the buyers via they pay for the house and then the seller pays us. So that's how we get reimbursed or get paid on a buying side. So advertising that service as being free is not technically true. So we can no longer, and I'll stress this, you'll hear me say it over and over and over for the next month, 2 months, is we cannot say that we are free. We're not free. We just don't send a direct invoice to a buyer and say, you pay me this much, and Mr. Seller, you pay your agent that much. So that lawsuit, again, has been going on for years. And there was an agreement during the Trump administration with the Ninth Circuit of Appeals that they came to a settlement that's when you got clear cooperation, and that's when we started putting the commissions on the bottom of the MLS sheet. We also put commissions on Zillow and Realtor. They're going to be advertised to the public, so that the public actually sees our commissions, what we're going to make. So we're not trying to disclose or hide anything about us getting paid, and where that money comes from. It comes from the buyer purchasing a home, and then the seller paying us. And that, what happens with that is that was one of our agreements that we would not misinform the public by saying we're free, we don't charge for our services on the buying side. So that's a biggie. That's a huge win. When the Biden administration came in, the new Department of Justice decided that that settlement agreement was not adequate enough, and they wanted to reinvestigate that settlement agreement. And then the Realtor Association actually turned around and filed a suit against the DOJ saying, look, we had an agreement in place. You can't just yank that agreement out. It's still binding. And we won that lawsuit this week. So that is huge news. So, and that part of the agreement is that this can't be revisited for 7 more years. So you can imagine what kind of attorney fees and multi-year lawsuit battles to win that kind of a settlement would cost. But for us, we only ask for our agents to donate $15. So that's a huge one out of your RPAC dollars. So, and again, RPAC dollars are not red or blue, they're purple. We don't pick between parties, Democrat or Republican. RPAC supports real estate and homeowner issues. So that's the sole goal is, does this candidate support real estate and homeowner rights? And that's where we go with it. So regardless of party. Another biggie, anybody got a question about that one? I posted a link to one of the articles on Facebook, but again, we have to stress, that we cannot say free on the buying side, because we are not, because that could land in a lawsuit.
Can I chime in?
Yeah. Cool.
So if you think about it, our buyer agency agreement we put a percentage in there that we're seeking from our buyer. However, it also states that we're seeking it from the seller or through our MLS and builder and for somebody, all of that anyway. In that,
Yeah.
it says all of that in there in so many words, right?
It does. Yeah.
We need to sell our value when we're having these buyer consultations. I mean, if we're only getting 2.5,
Yes. And Mike, I'll tell you that that's a great thing for North Carolina,
okay,
although all 50 states have their own rules. So we
right.
have a great form that states that we sell our value and whatnot. But this lawsuit actually originated out of Missouri with
Ah.
4 defendants that turned into a class action that was huge. So go
Gotcha.
ahead, though, not to interrupt you, but yes, you're right on, spot on. It
Well,
says
you know,
we
I
charge.
just think we need this. We have to sell our value to our buyers. And if we have 3% in that buyer agency agreement and you're only getting 2.4% from the listing agent, you can go get that other 0.6%. You can.
You can.
I don't, but you can.
Correct.
So,
Yep.
you know, a lot of people may not understand that. I don't know.
Yeah, and a lot of people, you can also, there's a line there that says a fee charged with a blank space that says, this is my fee that will be credited towards your purchase. And I always, myself, I put 0 and I write in there waived by agent because I don't charge an upfront fee to be your buyer's agent. Now, some people charge a $250 fee or city fee or early termination fee or something like that, but that's not how I choose to do my own business. But now as an individual agent, you can choose to operate however you would like. So.
Thank you.
Great conversation. That's a good one, Mike. Thank you. Anybody else on that one before I move to our next topic? Hey, so our next biggie coming out, 3 big ones. We are legislating and working with, these are our 3 hot points this year. One is short-term rentals. There are lots of HOAs, and one in our area, McIntosh is one, that has in their bylaws against short-term rentals or rental properties, or a certain percentage of the homes in the community can't be rental properties versus ownership properties, or even some municipalities have enacted rental policies that, like they're usually local city or local town governments that say you can't have an Airbnb within the city limits, or you can't have a Verbo here. And they're enacting these local ordinances. Well, the issue is you're infringing upon homeowners' rights. So if a homeowner buys a piece of property as the American dream, and then we turn around and tell them that what they can and can't do with it, the Realtor Association is taking a stance that, we have an issue with that, that we are here to protect homeowner rights. So that is going to be one of our hot button topics, short-term rentals. We're not in the short-term rental market itself, so to speak, but it is under the real estate umbrella. Some folks, it's lucrative business and they do well in that. And that's what their business model is. And that's their right to do as, Americans under the real estate umbrella. Just like appraisers or builders or anybody else, once they purchase a home, it's our belief that they shouldn't be dictated to if they wanted to rent it out for an Airbnb, or if they, we've seen a one HOA that says no more than 10% of the homes in the community can be rentals. And that's even long-term rentals. So if you have 100 houses and there's 10 that are rented out, 11 can't. And part of that is they are looking to not have one company or organization own a lot of membership votes for the HOA. Like in my own personal development, there's about 12 houses that are owned with a company out of Charlotte. So we have 228 houses, but that company technically has 12 votes when it comes to our annual meeting or anything we vote on in our neighborhood. So they are looking to quell the quantity or ratio of homeowners to rentals. And also with that, they are stating if you purchase a home, you have to live in it a certain amount of time before you can rent it out, unless you go before a board that hears a grievance, like I lost my job and I have to rent out my house, so I don't have to go into bankruptcy or whatever. So just know that homeowner rights, as far as rentals, is one of the hot button issues for NC Realtors this year. Anything questions on that comment? I think it's a great discussion for short-term rentals. If you run across that, or if you got investors, I know there's some in the area that do that as their business model. Y'all are quiet today.
I've got questions. I'm just waiting till you open up the floor.
Well, another
Jason,
one. Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
It's probably because we got such a great instructor to give us all the ins and outs, man.
I don't know about that. I just listen when I'm in all these sessions. So I will say this is invaluable.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, so another one is appraisals, which directly affects us. We are looking to, and I know you've probably heard the horror stories where an appraiser went into a home and looked at either the furnishings or either the portraits or the family that actually lived there and appraised it at one value versus another based on minority. And the Realtor Association, the NC Realtors and National are looking at that and saying, hey, train a timeout, that's wrong. I don't care where you are, who you are, what company you are, there's got to be some guidelines that are standardized that that does not play in this arena. And that's another strong one where they are really going after that one. So appraisal values, and as we all know, the last 2 years have been nuts. And how the market has played out with everyone being so competitive and so underappraised or overappraised now, valued for their homes, the appraisal section is coming under scrutiny this year. So.
Well, you know that the new tax values have been downloaded now.
Yeah, and they're going to be tough.
They're going to be great. I actually spoke with the tax department this morning about 11:15, and she said they had already had 1,500 complaints today, this morning, of people calling because I don't know if you've looked at your own, but it is astronomical on a lot of them. Now I have another home that's in a rural area that has 3 acres, and the taxes there didn't go up that much, which really surprised me. But in our home that we live in, it went up about 90%.
Yeah, ours went up in Guilford County. I want to say ours was $800. We had to put more into our escrows to cover it.
Yeah.
The difference.
Yeah.
So.
So I'm wondering with that though, Jason, I'm wondering, do y'all think that we'll end up having more people willing to sell because of their taxes going up so much?
Potentially that could help our inventory, downsizing to something that's more affordable based upon value.
Yeah.
So that could be, yes, very much so.
Yeah, I'm thinking that. However, with that said, this is where I see a challenge. I see a challenge of, and I know, we understand the difference between the market value and the tax value. Sometimes it's so challenging for clients too, especially if they communicate sometimes with someone at the tax department. I've got one client that is struggling because she feels that her home should be valued more because of what the new tax value went up to.
Hey, so I'll tell you, here's an easy out for that. An easy answer is the tax value is what the government needs to operate based upon the number of houses within its boundaries. And the market value is what someone's willing to pay you for it. So that's not always the same.
Yeah. I like that. Thank you.
Yeah. So any other good ones? That's a good conversation. And I appreciate you bringing it up, Tammy.
You're welcome.
Okay. Last one is inventory and affordable housing. There are some rules out there in municipalities like where's one in Greensboro, I'll tell you, that you can't have multifamily on one lot within the city limits. Meaning I can't have a mother-in-law suite that's detached from my house. Or I can't have a detached garage with a bedroom, a kitchenette above it. And you can't have multifamily, that would be considered multifamily within city limits. Or like I can't, if you're familiar with folks up northeast that have, say, New York, the city itself, millions and millions and millions of people, they would take one house and divide it up into 3 and 4 parts, and it would be a multifamily. So when you went in on the back, when you went through the back door, that went into its own living quarters and kitchen and bathroom. And then that was one part of the house. If you went in the front door, that would be living quarters, kitchen, and bathroom for another part of the house. And if you went upstairs, then that would be a third portion. So that would be a 3-family. And you would see them advertised that way: 3-family, 2-family, 4 families, based upon how they did the quadrants in the home. And that is allowed to house millions and millions of people in a city like New York. Well, lots of municipalities, local, and the zoning is that you can't do that. Well, we have a massive, massive, massive inventory problem. And North Carolina is number 3 in the country for moving to, not moving from, moving to. So as we don't have enough affordable housing, because one, you can't build a house for under, 200,000 at this point. It's hard to build a 2-1 from scratch. It's under 200 based on materials. And 200,000 is not necessarily affordable housing to a single mom working a service industry job. So that's what we're talking about, affordable fair housing. So they're looking at things like pods and tiny house communities, and again, like a mobile home park. People would say, that houses lots of families in a small portion of, or small tract. But people say, I don't want that, so to speak, riffraff. I don't want the opportunity for that, or not in my backyard rules. And that is just, as our association is standing, we've decided that's unacceptable. We're not going to stand for that. So inventory levels is a hot button everywhere in North Carolina. And so inventory levels, short-term rentals, and then the buying agency stuff is kind of some hot buttons here that we talked about just about every day.
Guys, you wanna go ahead?
So with that, y'all got any questions about those or anything you want to add? Or and then I'll open to y'all for me questions. You can ask me about sessions here, or who we've seen, or who we've heard, or who anything. And I'll listen to you guys or answer anything I can.
I mainly just had questions about the tax value.
Yeah, Guilford sent, Guilford's came out last year, so they hit really hard. And then again, as you get away from it, they're octennial, so every 8 years. And unless they do an across the board equal adjustment for everyone at the same rate, same hike. If it's an equitable increase, that's one thing. But then they do, that's it. A lot of y'all may not know this. That's how Robbie Cavender even got into real estate. Was he was doing property valuations for the tax department, and he was going to all these houses and assessing a value to them based upon the tax code. And then that turned into his real estate business.
Well, so they do ride-bys,
Yep.
They don't always, because I know of one, and I looked it up this morning because I know this particular person that has a ton of improvements. I mean, even the house they live in, that they never had permitted. They pay taxes only on the land.
Yeah.
And obviously, I don't even think they rode by there whenever they did the tax evaluation, because it's still just showing the taxes for the land.
Yeah, and one of the things, like, sometimes I always say, people say, well, my Zestimate is this. And, my answer is Zillow, your Zestimate is right. It is always right, 100%. And the reason it is always right is because it's a percent. up or down. So they're saying this is your value within 10% up or 10% down. So somewhere in this 20%, we're right. We just don't know where it is. The other thing is Zillow's never been in your house. So Zillow has no idea the condition. So a Zestimate is a number, not actual factual. Look at the value of your home. You know, is it marble this, and is it hardwoods that, and is it higher end appliances, any of those valuable things that folks look for, Zillow doesn't pick up. So I'll give you a couple of another hot button topics. Due diligence money. Woo, Lord Jesus, let's talk about that. I've had 5 calls within the last 2 weeks of folks wanting their due diligence money back and saying they didn't understand that it was non-refundable, or saying that, well, the seller didn't tell me there was moisture in the crawl space, and that's a material fact. So I want my due diligence back, I'm canceling. Well, had they done that home inspection in August, there may not have been any moisture in the crawl space. That's welcome to winter and spring in North Carolina for crawl spaces. But the average homeowner doesn't go into their crawl space on a regular basis. The average homeowner, and they may not know what their crawl space looks like, or what it, I can tell you I've never looked in mine other than making sure the door's locked, and I close my vents in the winter and I open them in the summer. That's the extent of my crawl space experience at my house. So they're claiming, I had one that said, I want my due diligence money and out of this contract because 7 of the 19 windows don't open. And that's a material fact. So just know that, and agents are pointing to the change in the OTP that happened in July, that there are instances of material facts you can get your DD back. So just know that they're pointing that out and claiming in ignorance that it's not refundable. So, everything I've dealt with or had the opportunity to work with since I came on board, I would implore you to follow up phone conversations or text conversations with an email that says, hey, per our phone call today, I just want to make sure you understand that the due diligence is not refundable. It gets credited if you continue to the completion of the sale. But if you walk away, please know that those monies, you don't get those back. Or, any conversation that's via phone or via text, I would definitely follow it up with the email. So, any other questions? I see Diane is on board today. Diane, congratulations. Diane had her first settlement today. So we're excited for you. And
I think my sellers are actually signing tomorrow, but close enough for me.
well, they moved it up 7-8 days or something, but
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
Diane, where did that sale come from?
Agent on duty.
Yep. So she just answered the phone and had the right questions, and we're happy for you to have your first transaction with KW. So I'm
It was actually my very first phone call.
I'm very proud of you.
Thank you.
Yep. So anything else? Y'all want me to share anything else from here?
Can I ask what is probably a really stupid question that I should know 100%, but I don't?
Go right ahead. I'm glad you
because I know all of y'all, so don't judge. This is really dumb, but in the offer to purchase, it's one of the things under the seller disclosures, I think it is. It says late listing penalties. All property tax late listing penalties will be paid by the seller. What is a late listing penalty? I don't understand that.
So if you list the property, the taxes are prorated.
Mm-hmm.
So it's as if there's any change in the time it's listed, and then based upon when the taxes are due or paid. So it's all in the proration. So,
Okay.
and then well, often, and what you'll find, Amy, and I don't know if you've run into this, but there will be a line item from the seller to the buyer, giving them the money. And then the bill comes and the buyer's like, I don't owe all this. I didn't own it all year. They forgot there was a credit from the seller at settlement.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Um,
cool. Okay, I have that conversation with him. I didn't realize that was related to late listing penalties. So thank
Yeah.
you.
Let's see, another one I had this week was the RPD. So let's talk about that for a second.
Jason,
So,
Jason.
yeah.
Can I ask one question to feed off Amy before you start that part?
yes.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No,
Um,
no, it's fine.
So,
So,
and just because since I've been an agent, we have not gone through the tax evaluation where they reevaluated the tax appraisal, the appraisal values. So, and this may be a stupid question, but I don't know it, so I'm gonna ask. So whenever since the taxes are being downloaded now, whenever we go to close on our homes for this year, or just say if we have something now that when we close, is that tax proration gonna be based upon what the taxes will be? Let's see, wait a minute, now I may be answering this myself. So if they've already paid their taxes, well, no, they're not paying their taxes yet.
some people choose to go ahead and pay it, like they'll send a partial payment to the tax department.
Mhm.
And you're right, if there's a change in the tax code up until the day, that proration would be up to the day of the change.
Mhm.
So if they changed it on the 15th, you would have a price for up to the 15th proration. And then from the 16th through the 31st is another one. And then that's when you sold it on the 31st, and that would go to the buyer on that day. So you might have two tax prices for the same property. That's why they do it at the change of a year or, but yes, you could have multiple prices within the same season. Yes. Is that
Okay.
what you're asking me? I think you are.
I think I know exactly what you're saying, and I think you are answering my question.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Can
So
I say something
yes.
about late listing penalty? I have a
Yes.
lot of background noise. I'm sorry. I think they may also be, if you get your form every year just to send back and say you don't have any changes, list your dogs and your all that stuff.
So,
They can
yeah.
penalize you if you don't send
Same.
that in on time. So that may be partially that as well.
Yeah, any upgrades to your property or any changes that you may not have submitted, and then they find out about it and there's overages, they would prorate those out.
Yeah.
And then the other part, going to the RPD, we had 3 of these this week. Section 2B on the page 1 says to seller, if you check no, it doesn't mean that's it. It's not an admission of guilt, basically. So that you, if I say no, there's nothing wrong with the roof, but then it's inspected and they find something wrong with the roof, it allows for that inspection to happen and the seller not to be in breach, because they may not have known. Just because they answered no, they could have made a mistake, basically, in answering the RPD. So that 2B on page 1 says that the seller may answer this incorrectly or without full knowledge, and that they're not held accountable to that. So just know that's come up 3 times in the last, what is today, Thursday? In the last 9 days. So RPD questions have come up about seller liability, of whether they're saying no representation if they don't know, or if they say no, are they held accountable to that answer? And 2B alleviates them based upon how the home has a right to be inspected. Another one that came out down here is that, how do I say this one? How homes are advertised. The recommendation is that you take the link from the MLS. That way it gives credit to the person that's listed the home. And then it's not you. So take the link from the MLS client full, and it tells you, gives you the property listed by. So that's how their recommendation is, just for marketing purposes, that we, disclose, that we are not showing someone else's house without their permission, or advertising someone else's house without their permission. And one of the ways is it's in the MLS, which means that property is being advertised. So if you use the MLS sheet, that covers you. So y'all got any more? Y'all are good. And Mike, I think you and Carrie always have perfect attendance. I appreciate that.
Well, I don't know about perfect, but we do our best.
Because he's an overachiever.
I will share with you, Ignite's been going well. Those folks are hungry for knowledge. They are so appreciative for all the instructors that have come in and the different topics that have been taught. I will say, and I'll share with you, and I know you're hearing this a lot, that getting that database to 201 can get you a whole nother level in your business if you have 4 things, and that's their name, their address, their email address, and their phone number. And if you get it in Command with that part of information, and then do what Command says, put them on a task, put them on a program, whether it's a drip and a call and whatever it tells you to do. If you start those marketing programs within Command, the statistics tell us if you are at 201 and above, you're around 119K in salary. So we're starting a 201 club. I think Andy's going to be all over that. You'll hear us talk about that a lot. And the Ignite folks, there's 20 classes. And we say, before next class, update 10 people in the Command. So if you do 10 people for 20 classes, what are they graduating with Ignite? 201, 200. So, and then they just need to get one more after graduation, and then follow through with what Command tells them to do. And the other thing, Command, y'all know Command better than I do. Command, what they did was took every single program out there that realtors were paying for, whether it be Boomtown or whether it be Real Geeks or whether it be Top Producer, or all those programs out there that people are paying thousands and thousands of dollars for. And they put every single function that all 36 of them do into one program. And I don't know why anybody would pay more than $45 for that with your fee to Command. And it does the same thing as 36 other programs, basically. So
where the disconnect is on there is 3 years ago when Command was rolled out prematurely and it wasn't ready,
had bugs.
People have gotten scarred from that. And when they moved on to it, now they've become well equipped and acquainted with a KV Core or with a Boomtown or with whatever, and whether they're paying, I mean, the $55 million producer that I just hired out of Raleigh, she's paying $24,000 a year for hers. And she, now luckily she's never been with Keller Williams. She doesn't know. So she's entering Command at its highest point. And now she's paying $45 a month for it, as opposed to $24,000 a year for one that's less effective. So I think one of our biggest things is just getting people to, we have to show them and give them the statistics, and we have to have some examples in the market center of people that are using it at a high level and having success from it. But also it's, hey, don't cut off that if you don't want to for now. Don't cut off your KV core if you don't want to. Test this and see if we're telling you the truth about what it is, because it's truly become, at this point, it's become the most sophisticated CRM that real estate has to offer anywhere. And that can be overwhelming. You know, Tammy and I just had a conversation about it yesterday. Like, as smart as and intelligent as a system it is, it's overwhelming to me. And you know, so it's hard to push it on people. But the cool part is there's simplistic ways to go about tackling a sophisticated CRM. And so what we're doing is, with people like Sydney, working through the local MCTTs like Daniel, who's phenomenal, and teaching these simplistic things as we go along, and just eating that elephant one bite at a time. But that 201 is the biggest eye opener for me. Is, well, I already make $147,000. Well, that means if you're making 147 without using 201 in command, that means if you add the 201 in command, you get to add the 119 to your 147.
You'd be
Yeah.
at 347.
Right. So, and anybody with other contacts, you know, with a higher number of contacts, with those 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, now you're getting up into 350, 450 GCI plus. You know, there's people running 125, $150 million a year businesses, real estate businesses, through command now with KW, and it's operating such a high level. So,
Well, I can tell you from my own environment, we were paying almost 5K a month.
mhm,
And we were using 3 different systems.
mhm.
And, you know, from a small brokerage, and that was just what we put out. So that was our personal team. So you can imagine we had 15 agents at one point, and that was just 6 of us putting out 5K. So there was still 9 more paying even more money.
Yeah.
So
And it'll take some time, but what it is we have to slowly, we got to piece by piece just keep it regular, and keep it in front of people, and keep preaching it, and really handhold and take people. Like, we're booking Tammy. I'm sorry to use you an example, but you're here. but I booked Tammy a one-on-one with Sydney Seymour, who's the regional MCTT. And it's taking little steps like that with people to get people like Tammy and Amy and Mike and me and you to adopt the sophistication of command, and letting it help us grow our business. And if it takes calls like that with regional people, and it takes one-on-ones with Daniel, and if we have to do it for a year to get our adoption rate up to 75, 80%, I mean, we're going to be doing some silly numbers when we have everybody in our market center with at least 201 contacts in command. I mean, it's going to be nuts. We'll be doing 75 million a month.
and that was the other thing too, is talking everything going on down here. Yes, there's a shift. Yes, we're in an economic model. Does that mean our business has to be that way? Not necessarily. We could have the same sales, if not more, if we do the get back to basics and do the stuff that we know how to do right, a cut above the other realtors that aren't going to do it, that haven't been through the knowledge that we've been through. Our business can excel, where others will fall off and out of the industry. So getting back to basics and actually doing the things that we know how to do right will set our businesses up to continue. And you know, usually Keller Williams grows in downturns.
And which it already is. But I think when you look at, I look at things shifting in a different, I'm a numbers guy, and maybe it's the optimist in me, but I look at a market shift in a different light from a number standpoint, because right now you have 1.7 million agents in NAR. And is that right? In a 1.7 million in NAR?
Yeah, 1.7. We're planning to be going back down to 1.6.
You can rest assured that within the next calendar year, I guarantee you that number drops at least 35%. At least 35%. Now, what that means is all of your market share just immediately got bigger.
To somewhat, yep. It's got, those people go somewhere,
Got
right?
to get bigger because people are always going to buy houses and they're always going to sell houses. And all our job is to find the people. It's not to be concerned with hunting and trying to talk people into transacting with us. It's find, Gary says, find the, when in 1987, he said, my job was to find the people that wanted to work with me and work with them. And he was just relentless at finding them. He didn't try to persuade anybody to transact. He was just relentless with hunting down people that wanted to buy and wanted to sell.
And that's just, Andy, that's just like during COVID, when Guilford County said stop and we couldn't work. You know, people still got job reloads, people still died and they had to sell the house. People still got divorced and had to sell the house. People still had babies and didn't have enough room. I mean, all those things still happen. So real estate doesn't stop. Even in a downturn, there are people buying and selling every single day. So,
Yeah.
Anybody got anything? Because I've got a 3 o'clock. I've got some great information to come back with. I'm so excited. This has been so fantastic down here the last 3 days. So,
I have a quick question.
Yep.
Are you guys gonna do Ignite on Zoom ever?
potentially, they do a Zoom course, and I wanted to get our new instructors in place with the new ALC. It was my first go around at Ignite. It is less interactive, clearly, because there's breakout and projects and, you know,
Right.
one-on-one with people. We will look at a hybrid version of that. We're also looking at an evening version of it. The evening one probably will come first.
Okay.
And just because I know we have a lot of dual career people, and I know several of the instructors said they would be glad to help me out and teach evening classes to take care of folks. So I just don't want us to lose the energy in Ignite via Zoom. So if that makes sense, because it is so life-changing if you follow the steps. It can, like I say, you graduate with 200 people if you do all the things you're supposed to do, and you're already set up for success in 20 days. So I will, Diane, will definitely look into that for sure. Anybody else? All right. If y'all don't have anything, I'm gonna let you go and
Hey,
tell
I
you how much.
appreciate you, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey,
Thank
I hope
you.
we get to see each other tomorrow night. I want to dance with y'all. Tammy knows I know how to dance. It's been 7 years since I got to dance with my peeps. So I hope to get to see everybody tomorrow night. We're gonna have a good time. So
We'll be there.
See you
Thank
all
there.
right, I appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Andy.